Chapter 5 The Formula of Iao. This formula is the principal and most characteristic formula of Osiris, of the redemption of mankind. I is Isis, nature, ruined by Apophis, the destroyer, and restored to life by the Redeemer Osiris. 1 The same idea is expressed by the Rosicrucian formula of the Trinity, Exteonasima. In Jesu Morima. Prosperitum Sanctum Revivissimus. 2 This is also identical with the word lux lvx, which is formed by the arms of a cross. It is this formula which is implied in those ancient and modern monuments in which the phallus is worshipped as the savior of the world. The doctrine of resurrection as vulgarly understood is false and absurd. It is not even scriptural. St. Paul does not identify the glorified body which rises with the mortal body which dies. On the contrary, he repeatedly insists on the distinction. The same is true of a magical ceremony. The magician who is destroyed by absorption in the Godhead is really destroyed. The miserable mortal automaton remains in the circle. It is of no more consequence to him than the dust of the floor. 3 But before entering into the details of Iao as a magical formula, it should be remarked that it is essentially the formula of yoga or meditation, in fact, of elementary mysticism in all its branches. In beginning a meditation practice, there is always a quiet pleasure, a gentle natural growth. One takes a lively interest in the work, it seems easy, one is quite pleased to have started. This stage represents Isis. Sooner or later it is succeeded by depression, the dark night of the soul, an infinite weariness and detestation of the work. The simplest and easiest acts become almost impossible to perform. Such impotence fills the mind with apprehension and despair. The intensity of this loathing can hardly be understood by any person who has not experienced it. This is the period of Apophis. It is followed by the arising not of Isis, but of Osiris. The ancient condition is not restored, but a new and superior condition is created, a condition only rendered possible by the process of death. The alchemists themselves taught this same truth. The first matter of the work was base and primitive, though natural. After passing through various stages, the black dragon appeared, but from this arose the pure and perfect gold. Even in the legend of Prometheus we find an identical formula concealed, and a similar remark applies to those of Jesus Christ, and of many other mythical godmen worshipped in different countries. 2 A magical ceremony constructed on this formula is thus in close essential harmony with the natural mystic process. We find it the basis of many important initiations, notably the 3rd degree in Masonry, and the 5 degrees equals 68 ceremony of the GD described in Equinox I. 3. A ceremonial self-initiation may be constructed with advantage on this formula. The essence of it consists in robing yourself as a king, then stripping and slaying yourself, and rising from that death to the knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel. 3 There is an etymological identity between Tetragrammaton and Iao, but the magical formula entirely different, as the descriptions here given have shown. Professor William James, in his Varieties of Religious Experience, has well classified religions as the once-born and the twice-born, but the religion now proclaimed in Libel Egis harmonizes these by transcending them. There is no attempt to get rid of death by denying it, as among the once-born, nor to accept death as the gate of a new life, as among the twice-born. With the life and death are equally incidents in a career, very much like day and night in the history of a planet. But, to pursue the simile, we regard this planet from after. A brother of Ua looks at, what another person would call, his self, as one or, rather, some among a group of phenomena. He is that nothing whose consciousness is in one sense the universe considered as a single phenomenon in time and space, and in another sense is the negation of that consciousness. The body and mind of the man are only important, if at all, as the telescope of the astronomer to him. If the telescope were destroyed, it would make no appreciable difference to the universe which that telescope reveals. It will now be understood that this formula of Iao is a formula of Tifereth. The magician who employs it is conscious of himself as a man liable to suffering, and anxious to transcend that state by becoming one with God. It will appear to him as the supreme ritual, as the final step, but, as has already been pointed out, it is but a preliminary. For the normal man today, however, it represents considerable attainment, and there is a much earlier formula whose investigation will occupy Chapter 6. The Master Therion, in the 17th year of the Aeon, has reconstructed the word out to satisfy the new conditions of magic imposed by progress. The word of the law being Thelema, whose number is 93, this number should be the canon of a corresponding mass. Accordingly, he has expanded Iao by treating the O as an N, and then adding Vo as prefix and affix. The full word is then Wo, whose number is 93. We may analyze this new word in detail and demonstrate that it is a proper hieroglyph of the ritual of self-initiation in this Aeon of Horus. For the correspondences in the following note, see Liber 777. The principal points of these Iaf varies in significance with successive Aeons. Aeon of Isis. Matriarchal age. The great work conceived as a straightforward simple affair. We find the theory reflected in the customs of matriarchy. Parthenogenesis is supposed to be true. The Virgin, Yod Virgo, contains in herself the principle of growth, the epicene hermetic seed. It becomes the babe in the egg, a Harpocrates, by virtue of the spirit, A equals air, impregnating the mother vulture, and this becomes the son or sun, F equals the letter of Tifereth, 6, even when spelt as omega, in Coptic. C 777. 1 Aeon of Osiris. Patriarchal age. 2 sexes. I conceived as the father wand, Yod in Tetragrammaton. A. The babe is pursued by the dragon, who casts a flood from his mouth to swallow it. See Reverend 7. The dragon is also the mother, the evil mother of Freud. It is Harpocrates, threatened by the crocodile in the Nile. We find the symbolism of the ark, the coffin of Osiris, etc. The lotus is the yoni, the water the amniotic fluid. In order to live his own life, the child must leave the mother, and overcome the temptation to return to her for refuge. Kundry, Armada, Jocasta, Circe, etc., are symbols of this force which tempts the hero. He may take her as his servant too when he has mastered her, so as to heal his father, Amphitrite, avenge him, Osiris, or pacify him, Jehovah. But in order to grow to manhood, he must cease to depend on her, earning the lance, Parzival, claiming his arms, Achilles, or making his club, Hercules, 3 and wander in the waterless wilderness like Krishna, Jesus, Osiris, until the hour when, as the king's son or knight-errant, he must win the princess, and set himself upon a strange throne. Almost all the legends of heroes imply this formula in strikingly similar symbols. F. For the sun. He is supposed to be mortal, but how is this shown? It seems an absolute perversion of truth. The sacred symbols have no hint of it as far as I can see. This lie is the essence of the great sorcery. Osirian religion is a Freudian fantasy fashioned of man as dead of death and ignorance of nature. The parthenogenesis idea persists, but is now the formula for incarnating demigods, or divine kings. These must be slain and raised from the dead in one way or another. 1 Aeon of Horus. 2 sexes in one person. Theoph, 93, the full formula, recognizing the sun as the sun, star, as the pre-existent manifested unit form which all springs and to which all returns. The great work is to make the initial FF of Asaya, the world of material illusions, into the final fifth of Atsaluth, to the world of pure reality. Spelling the name in full, FF plus IFT plus ALP plus OIN plus F equals 3093 equals X equals SHT equals 20 plus 11 equals 31. The secret key of the law. F is the manifested star. I is the secret life. Serpent light. Lamp love. Wand liberty. Wing silence. Cloak. These symbols are all shown in the At of the Hermit. They are the powers of the Yod, whose extension is the Vor. Yod is the hand wherewith man does his will. It is also the Virgin, his essence is inviolate. A is the babe who has formulated his father, and made fertile his mother Harpocrates, etc., as before, but he develops to O. The exalted devil, also the other secret eye, by the formula of the initiation of Horus elsewhere described in detail. This devil is called Satan or Shaitan, and regarded with horror by people who are ignorant of his formula, and, imagining themselves to be evil, accuse nature herself of their own phantasmal crime. Satan is Saturn, Set, Abrasax, Adad, Adonis, Attis, Adam, Adonai, etc. The most serious charge against him is only that he is the sun in the south. The ancient initiates, dwelling as they did in lands whose blood was the water of the Nile or the Euphrates, connected the south with life-withering heat, and cursed that quarter where the solar darts were deadliest. Even in the legend of Hiram, it is at high noon that he is stricken down and slain. Capricornus is moreover the sign which the sun enters when he reaches his extreme southern declination at the winter solstice, the season of the death of vegetation, for the folk of the northern hemisphere. This gave them a second cause for cursing the south. A third, the tyranny of hot, dry, poisonous winds, the menace of deserts or oceans dreadful because mysterious or impassable. These also were connected in their minds with the south. But to us, aware of astronomical facts, this antagonism to the south is a silly superstition which the accidents of their local conditions suggested to our animistic ancestors. We see no enmity between right and left, up and down, and similar pairs of opposites. These antitheses are real only as a statement of relation, they are the conventions of an arbitrary device for representing our ideas in a pluralistic symbolism based on duality. Good must be defined in terms of human ideals and instincts. East has no meaning except with reference to the Earth's internal affairs. As an absolute direction in space it changes a degree every 4 minutes. Up is the same for no two men, unless one chance to be in the line joining the other with the center of the earth. Hard is the private opinion of our muscles. True is an utterly unintelligible epithet which has proved refractory to the analysis of our ablest philosophers. We have therefore no scruple in restoring the devil worship of such ideas as those which the laws of sound, and the phenomena of speech and hearing, compel us to connect with a group of gods whose names are based upon SHD or D, vocalized by the free breath A. For these names imply the qualities of courage, frankness, energy, pride, power, and triumph. They are the words which express the creative and paternal will. Thus the devil is Capricornus, the goat who leaps upon the loftiest mountains, the godhead which, if it become manifest in man, makes him Japan, the all. The sun enters this sign when he turns to renew the year in the north. He is also the vowel lo, proper to roar, to boom, and to command, being a forcible breath controlled by the firm circle of the mouth. He is the open eye of the exalted sun, before whom all shadows flee away, also that secret eye which makes an image of its god, the light, and gives it power to utter oracles, enlightening the mind. Thus, he is man-made God, exalted, eager, he has come consciously to his full stature, and so is ready to set out on his journey to redeem the world. But he may not appear in this true form. The vision of Pan would drive men mad with fear. He must conceal himself in his original guise. He therefore becomes apparently the man that he was at the beginning. He lives the life of a man, indeed. He is wholly man. But his initiation has made him master of the event by giving him the understanding that whatever happens to him is the execution of his true will. Thus the last stage of his initiation is expressed in our formula as the final, F. The series of transformations has not affected his identity, but it has explained him to himself. Similarly, copper is still copper after Cu plus O equals QO, plus H2SO4 equals QSO4, H2O, plus K2S equals Cus, K2SO4, plus blowpipe and reducing agent equals Q'(S.1). It is the same copper, but we have learned some of its properties. We observe especially that it is indestructible, inviolably itself throughout all its adventures, and in all its disguises. We see moreover that it can only make use of its powers, fulfill the possibilities of its nature, and satisfy its equations, by thus combining with its counterparts. Its existence as a separate substance is evidence of its subjection to stress, and this is felt as the ache of an incomprehensible yearning until it realizes that every experience is a relief, an expression of itself, and that it cannot be injured by aught that may befall it. In the Aeon of Osiris it was indeed realized that man must die in order to live. But now in the Aeon of Horus we know that every event is a death, subject and object slay each other in love under will, each such death is itself life, the means by which one realizes oneself in a series of episodes. The second main point is the completion of the Abe Bacchus by the Opan, Parzival wins the lance, etc. The first process is to find the I in the V initiation, purification, finding the secret root of oneself, the Epicene Virgin who is 10, Malkuth, but spelt in full 20, Jupiter. This Yod in the Virgin expands to the babe in the egg by formulating the secret wisdom of truth of Hermes in the silence of the fool. He acquires the I wand, beholding and acting and being adored. The inverted pentagram Baphomet the hermaphrodite fully grown begets himself on himself as V again. Note that there are now two sexes in one person throughout, so that each individual is self-procreative sexually, whereas Isis knew only one sex, and Osiris thought the two sexes opposed. Also the formula is now love in all cases, and the end is the beginning, on a higher plane. The I is formed from the V by removing its tail. The A by balancing 4 yods, the O by making an inverted triangle of yods, which suggests the formula of Nuit Hadit Rihor or Qit. A is the elements whirling as a spastic of the creative energy in equilibrated action.